1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men have been victims of severe physical violence carried out by an intimate partner.
As WAD's Deron Molen shows you in this special report, domestic abuse is even more common in central Illinois.
I was literally at the mercy of my abuser.
We have very high rates of domestic violence in this community.
There is hardly a day goes by when we don't have new domestic violence arrests.
The numbers are staggering, but it's hard to get a true picture of it in your mind until you see the paper trail.
I was saved by the appearance of the police.
And hear the stories.
There's still those unspoken victims out there who are needing help, even as we're speaking right now.
Jane Doe came to America to find love.
I met my husband through social media, and after months of communication, we decided, I have to come here.
But the love that brought her overseas quickly washed away in a storm of abuse.
It all started with verbal abuse and then escalating to physical abuse. And yeah, it just got worse and worse after that.
It continued for months until police arrested her husband for abusing another woman.
It meant that I became homeless as a result because it was only the two of us. It was me and my husband. I didn't exactly know what to do next.
I've been here at Dove in this program going on 29 years.
Thank you for calling Dove Incorporated. How can I help you?
Laws have changed. Communities began to form coordinated community response programs. Then we saw change.
Jane found her way to Dove Incorporated, into the care of Terry Ducey.
Sometimes when you've been in this work for so long, you just assume that everyone knows, but they don't.
Since July 2018, Dove has served 405 men and women and 106 children, providing them with shelter, critical services, and emotional support.
I don't know why it is so elevated here, other than to say we have got to start looking at this as the crime that it is.
We looked through the Macon County arrest affidavits our station compiled since May 2018. All of them.
In fact, we looked at 640 domestic violence sworn statements, and that's just the past year in Macon County alone. That averages out to almost 2 per day, and those are just the ones we know about.
That's 640 people who are like you and I. Their mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, children.
I'm not surprised at that number in the least bit. I can tell you that Monday morning when I came in, we had 10 people in custody.
Jay Scott has been trying these cases as a prosecutor for 34 years. Many times, they don't go as planned.
We had a case several years ago where a man and a woman had a long-term relationship. She had him arrested for domestic battery. She recanted. She had him arrested a second time for domestic battery. She again recanted. We did prosecute him a third time, and that was after he had killed her.
Some of the suspects arrested end up back in that same cycle. In our stack of sworn statements, 25 names appeared more than once. Again, this is in just a year's time.
If you go back to 1996 to 1999, we ranked #1 per capita in the state. Since then, we average 3rd, 4th.
The numbers from the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority back that up. For the last year on record, 2016, Macon County was 4th in the state for abuse arrests per capita. But this isn't just a Macon County issue. Sangamon County led the state, and Champaign County was 8th.
It doesn't necessarily mean that we have that much more occurrences. It means that we take a more aggressive stance in how we enforce the domestic violence laws.
Deputy Chief Shane Brandell and his officers are on the front lines of the abuse epidemic. They respond to the calls.
Domestic violence calls do account for our largest block.
And make the arrests.
In 2018, we had over 4,000 calls for domestic violence.
Each arrest contributing to that stack of papers we sorted through earlier.
We may go out to a house 6 or 7 times before we end up making one arrest, just because the information isn't there or it never got to the point where there's an arrestable offense that occurred.
Jane's abuser was ultimately convicted of domestic battery. set to serve 7 years behind bars. That conviction will never take away the trauma, but it brings some semblance of closure.
Whenever I go past that place, you know, I would feel afraid because it was so emotional and psychological. But now, since I know he's far away, I feel quite safe, and I'm able to focus on building myself.
Indicator Deron Molen, WAND News.